Music never broke my heart like you. Never made me fall apart the way you do. It's always by my side when you're gone. Music never broke.
If a local artist had listened to the doubters, his life would have played out like an old country song.
But this cowboy crooner has found his own beat and is now beating the odds. Our own Mike Glover tells us something good.
Cutter was born 8 weeks premature. He was diagnosed with autism and cerebral palsy, and doctors had a long list of things he'd never be able to do.
I knew right from the start you'd go break my heart. Seems my better judgment took a coffee break. 'Cause you just slipped right in and now you're gone again. How many times can I make the same mistake? You're just a heartache.
Everyone says you're the reason that Cutter got into music.
That's what I've been told.
That's what I've heard. No, tell me about that. How do you think that came about?
Well, when Cutter was a baby, to get him to sleep, we'd take him up and put him into bed, we'd sing to him. And it was that song he wanted to play today. Don't take your guns to
A
town.
young cowboy named Billy Joe grew restless on the farm. A boy filled with wanderlust who really meant no harm. He changed his clothes and shined his boots and combed his dark hair down. But his mother cried as he walked out, "Don't take your guns to town, son. Leave your guns at home, Bill. Don't take your guns."
What's your dream for Cutter?
Well, I hope that he's a success in whatever he wants to be, whether it be music or whatever. And I hope his head didn't get too big for his cowboy hat.
Our first performance, he was probably 8 or 9. There somewhere we did a citywide talent show, sing Jackson. When I first met Cutter, the word was that he probably would never play a guitar. And oh my gosh, did he just blow that out of the water.
I've been watching him for so many years, and I knew he was good. I'd seen all these little video clips, and he was 6 and 7 and 8 years old, and he was imitating Johnny Cash so good it was unbelievable. He could have done a Cash show by the time he was 10 years old.
And this kid came in a black suit. I mean, and kids just usually don't wear black suits. And he got up there, and I remember my husband saying he's going to sing Johnny Cash.
Looking in the mirror in total surprise. I got the hair on my shoulder, an age in my eyes.
He started singing. Cliff said, "That kid can sing." And we just started following him.
When I first saw him perform, he was not playing the guitar. He had a guitar, but it was kind of a, I guess what we would call an air guitar. He had a track running behind him. But no, I never thought he'd play the guitar.
When he'd be up singing Johnny Cash, they'd watch him and they'd just go, "Oh my gosh, he's got it down." But we'd watch him do that, and knowing that he wanted to have a career in music on his own, we would have the conversations that, "Well, Cutter, that's great that you can imitate Johnny Cash, but is that what you want to do? Do you want to be an imitator, or do you want to be your own person?"
This guitar right here, it's a Martin D35, like similar to the ones Johnny Cash played. He played a Martin D35. This was my Uncle Hal's, and I was gonna last Christmas get one custom made. I was telling my Uncle Hal about it. He said, "I have one hanging in my office." He said, I don't ever use. He said, come by and pick it up. I said, okay. So I did, and that's the one I've been using on stage ever since.
Cutter was 3 pounds and 14 ounces. And as he grew a little bit older, they found that he had a problem with his foot and he couldn't walk very good. And then they realized he couldn't see and he had trouble hearing. Also, he had ASD, and which I didn't know exactly what that was in those days, and the more I read about it and the more I heard about it, the more I realized he really had some obstacles to overcome.
I never ever told Cutter that he had issues, that he had difficulties. I never told him that this doctor said this or this doctor said that.
I mean, he had some struggles in certain areas, and we just tell him, we say, well, Cutter, that's just the way it is. And for circumstances out of your control, some things are just going to be more difficult for you. So you're just going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else to make it happen.
Very few people can go as far in life, I think, as Cutter will in his life and overcome those obstacles. And I've watched him take them one by one.
Don't worry about the things so much that you can't do. Just focus on the things that you can do.
He just always found a way to dig in and make things happen. You know, he would say, I can't do that. And I said, can't, never could. And that's it with Cutter. He has the want to.
Can't, never could do nothing. I'm gonna try something I never did. Yeah, I might fall on my face, or I might float off in space, but I'm gonna try something I never did. Yeah, I'll get up to the plate and swing for the fences. I might buy me some new shoes and go out dancing. Yeah, I'll try a million things until I find my wings that set me flying. Coach Cutter, he's a heck of a golfer and a heck of a chipper. You know, those that don't play golf, call it the short game, where you have to chip the ball onto the green, and he figured out a way to teach me how to do it.
Have the kids do push-ups, set-ups, pull-ups, and Cutter, being a disability, I mean, he could only use one side, which was his left, which was really strong. And what we'd call normal kids, right, without disabilities, they had difficulty doing it with 2 hands. Well, Cutter could do over 10 one-handed pull-ups, which was really amazing. The way I really got hooked up with Cutter was Cutter needed a place to belong. You know, every kid needs a spot to connect to. Well, I made him my golf manager. And he was an excellent manager. I mean, he did that for me for 4 years. And we still play golf to this very day.
A couple of weeks back, I was going home from the radio station, and my phone rings, and it's Cutter. And he says, boy, have I got a story for you.
I had just gotten a phone call from a friend of mine in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he said, would you come over here? We're going to have a tequila promotion. He said, and George Strait's going to be there in my backyard, he said. And I said, John, are you kidding me? And he goes, nope, he will be there. I said, I'm going to bring my nephew, Cutter Elliott.
So he surprised me. I didn't even know what we were doing.
So I told myself, I'm not going to tell anybody what I'm doing.
He said, we got to go to Tulsa. He said, I just had a garage open up there yesterday and I need to go taste test it.
John, is that person here? He goes, yeah, I see those curtains over there. He's talking to the press behind those curtains. And Cutter said, who is that? Who's here?
And about that time, the curtain opens up, and it was George and Norma. And they came over and started talking to Hal.
You know, and I turned around, and George Strait was 3 feet from me, and I barely could get my name out, but I managed to get my name out. And he goes, well, Cutter, it's nice to meet you.
And I said, George, I'm Hal Smith. And he goes, yeah, Hal, I've heard of you. And I said, this is my nephew, Cutter Elliott. And I said, I can tell you right now, he's a country and western singer that sings all of your songs.
And I know George is a huge Merle Haggard fan, as am I. And I said, I love Merle Haggard. And he said, well, Merle's my man.
And Cutter was trembling, and he said, George, I didn't know you were going to be here, but I've got on a George Strait shirt and a George Strait belt like that, and George darn near started crying. He went, I am so honored that you would wear my clothes and sing my songs and come here to see me.
He did assure me that traditional country music was coming back, and he said, best of luck in country music.
And I'll never forget that feeling we had, and Cutter looked at me after it was over and he said, that is the one moment in my lifetime I will never, ever forget.
I think we have a picture up there if we can get that pulled up just to prove that it actually did happen. Because this is a story I wouldn't have believed if you hadn't have shown that. Look at those good-looking boys. Would you look at that? Boy, I bet you wouldn't know George had all that good-looking hair. He always wears a hat. George's girlfriend said, I'll have some of George's tequila.
All right, so intro to Old Fashioned Me, right? Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
It's a fine line between hello and goodbye. You better choose your line. You better take your time. If you treat her right, you might make her smile. It's gonna take a while, but it'll be worth your time. Finding true love is an old-fashioned thing. An old-fashioned me, I got a wedding ring. Put it on your finger, what does it really mean? To old-fashioned me, it means everything. A little cash and Merle and Strait, they'll always be true country kings, the way it's meant to be.
It was funny, I was about 28 years old. I'd moved from Los Angeles to Oklahoma City. And one of the first shows we got, we had a couple of fans that were listening to the band, and they said, oh, our company's having a party, and we're going to see if our boss will hire you guys. And it was Cutter's father, Don Elliott. And we went and we did the show, and I met Don that first night, and we were like brothers from another mother.
Woo! It's Father's Day weekend, and Cutter and Dad are going to Tennessee, Memphis, that is. And they're going to go to Graceland.
Don worked for me. He was one of my best guys at Outback, and did a wonderful job.
And we connected right away, and he said, I've adopted this young boy, and we went and we met Cutter as a toddler, and that's how it all started. Don Elliott was the one that brought me into Cutter's life, and just over the years, I'd went on tour right away. So once Cutter was born, I toured for about 15 years, the first 15 years of his life. And Don would send me little messages and emails and call me and say, he's playing guitar, and I'd be like, what? I thought he couldn't play guitar. He's playing, he's singing, he's doing shows.
Where are we headed to, son?
So he would just feed me with these stories over the years before Cutter was old enough to contact me.
Sun records so I can sing my song. Bye!
Up. Hey, who won that game? Was
Dad.
the Baron or the kid?
The Baron.
The Baron.
One of his best friends, I think it was Steve, answered the phone. I said, is Don there? And he said, well, Paul, we're at the hospital. He's passing away. And I just took the wind out of me right away. And then an hour later, Cutter called me. I said, Cutter, what's going on? He goes, well, Don's going to pass. My father's going to pass away. And we went through that. It was very, very hard. We talked about it. We cried about it. Sadly, passed away a few days after that.
I'd like to do an original for you right now.
My father, Don, owned a restaurant here in Oklahoma City called 5 Star Grill, and it was a musical-themed restaurant, and he had all kinds of pictures up there from every country star to the Allman Brothers, to you name it. He had them hanging up. Well, he gave this picture of Merle Haggard to me December of 2015 as a Christmas present, so I really, really thought that was neat.
Yeah, I cried all night long, and I sang every
I know Cutter loved Don. Don Elliott brought a lot to Cutter too.
And one other guy I have to mention is my friend Cliff. I didn't think I'd get this emotional.
When I think of him, his name's Cliff Moore. Wonderful, wonderful man. He passed away.
He was my buddy.
Cutter is proud of being Cutter. And I think that's what Cliff and I loved about him.
Cliff always came to Cutter's performances with me.
And I could tell when Cutter was on stage that he knew when Cliff was in the audience.
Another reminder of my buddy. This is a shirt I used to wear, and whenever you hold it, know I am there. Love, Cliff.
Because he was the son that Cliff never had.
I couldn't say a word the day my daddy died. Sat there
And he didn't see me different than a lot of people. So if I could just be half of the inspiration to somebody else like he was to me, that would mean the world.
Yeah, I cried all night long, and I sang every song my daddy sang to me.
Daya has loved Cutter. She just gravitates towards him. But I think it's because Cutter's different and Daya's different, and they see this and just have a bond.
The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken, so I bowed my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. I've always loved you and made you happy, and nothing else could come between. But now you've left me to love another. You have shattered all of my dreams. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
And I will say this, the show's not the same now, because he isn't there cheering me on. I'm so thankful that Paul came in my life. Not that anybody would ever replace Cliff or Stephen or even my father, but it gave me a new light.
Please don't take my sunshine away. Thank you. Daya, everybody, the star of the show.
I get down, I just call Paul, and he's kind of my go-to man now.
Cutter said, you know, we're thinking about taking a little trip after all this, you know, and I said, well, come out and visit me, and we'll sit and we'll play music together, and that'll be our healing together, and we'll experience that. I didn't know how good he was yet until he got to my house in Nashville.
It's just something you feel, but you can't put your finger on.
It's funny, when we were in the studio cutting his record, Russ Paul, he's in his 70s, and he said to, Cutter said to him, how do you get that good? And Russ said to him, he goes, it takes about 10,000 hours, now I'm at 30,000. And I gotta tell you, Cutter's at over 10,000 already. And that has helped him so much in his career to have that many hours, plus the ACM schooling, has made him be able to walk in the studio with Nashville's top musicians and cut a record like a pro.
It's just something you feel, but
I do a program at ACM called Live Performance. In 2014, he came in. I worked with him on guitar playing. When he first came in, he told me, I have this disability and I have this, and I said, from what I see, you got superpowers. We started doing every old country tune that you can imagine. And I said, Cutter, how many songs do you know? He goes, I don't know, Danny, what, 600? That's a superpower.
it's the crush you feel on your heart when you fall.
Cutter came to ACM with drive and identity. As soon as Cutter comes in, I automatically knew that he was country and west. I mean, his identity was already made.
But you can't put your finger on. It's just something you feel, but you can't put your finger on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My name's Andy Sullivan. We're at the Health Science Center. I've worked here since 1976. I'm a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, which means that I take care of kids that everything from broken bones to birth problems. I first met Cutter when he was about 5 years old, and he had cerebral palsy. To be able to accomplish what he's accomplished shows great strength and great motivation. The part that their parents and family play is crucial. If they don't do those exercises and that stretching, then it'll come back.
When he got to the house, his mom and David and Clancy were all there, and we came in and I said, okay, me and Cutter are gonna write some songs. They went off to dinner. I hadn't heard him play in years, and he sat down with his guitar and he played, and my jaw dropped. And I've been spending years on the road with Charlie Daniels and Merle Haggard and personal relationships with these gentlemen, and that's what he reminded me of. He was the real deal. I said, what have you been doing? He goes, playing songs.
Coming home. Come on back where you belong, so I can throw away this song. I'd rather ride a happy
I was born in Belfast, Ireland, and the Troubles and the war was going on at that time. Figured out I had dyslexia and a reading comprehension problem. Very much like Cutter. If you put a page in front of Cutter and you say to read, he can't read it because of his eyes. You know, my mom dealt with that. It was very hard, just like Cutter's mom. She went to school a million times to talk to my teachers and try to help me through everything. And just no one could help me. My mom told me one day outside school, I was crying, and she said, there's going to be something for you. You're going to find something in your life that you're able to do better than anybody. And I believed her.
I can't bend any further than I do. Do the light version. You come knocking, baby. Again, do it. To the crowd, remember? When you come knocking, baby. I'm trying to remember the word. You know I've been again for you. Do it from there. Let's do it from the second verse. Yeah. Something's gotta change. I can't bend. Something's gotta change, 'cause I can't bend any further than I do.
And at the same time, my dad, he had been working in a daytime job, but at nighttime he worked in bars. And the jukeboxes in the bars, he had learned every song on the jukeboxes, and they played American country music. And this is in Belfast, Ireland, in the 1960s and 70s. So he was coming home at nighttime, and the war was so bad, we had to lay on the floor to sleep because bullets coming through windows and all that crazy stuff.
Come on back and let me know that you love me so. 'Cause this cowboy's heart is always aching for you. 'Cause this cowboy's heart is always...
My dad would sit there, and I didn't know he was singing Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline and Willie Nelson, but that's what was going into my little 6-year-old brain. So by the time I came to America at 12 years old, everybody else liked Led Zeppelin and rock and roll, and I'm singing Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, and they laughed at that too. And I called my mom, I said, I just got signed to my first publishing deal as a writer. And she said, the little boy that couldn't read got a job as a writer? Do they know you can't read? I said, yeah, they know, but they love my songs. And she was very proud of that she was right. That was the thing for me, was songs.
I don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. Started out with a heap of that. Don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. 'Cause that's exactly what I have. I'm counting up change and I'm heading to the grocery store. It's a gallon of milk or a gallon of gas. The milk is only good with cookies, but they cost too much. And gas is only good if you insure the car. I don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. Started out with a heap of that. I don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. 'Cause that's exactly what I have. I had an idea for a mom and pop restaurant, but a big conglomerate came and bought the block. Well, maybe they're right, we could use another mini mall. Oh, the bigger they are, yeah, the harder they fall. I don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. Started out with a heap of that. I don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. 'Cause that's exactly what I have. Paul Reeves on guitar. I went down to the mail today, and what did I get? One of those big oversized colorful $1 million checks. Yeah. All I had to do was send them $29.99. Just 'cause I'm broke, ain't out of my mind. I don't want it all, but
It's called Heartache Waiting to Happen, and I hope it's a nod to traditional country music. We got some upbeat ones, we got some dance ones, we got some slow ones. And I just hope it's a nod to the guys that have come before me, like Cash and Haggard and George Strait.
what I have. Yeah, plenty of that. Yeah, thank you. All right, so a little background. I went out to Nashville, I guess about 2 months ago now, and recorded an album with some of the Nashville's top musicians.
The top guys in Nashville. You know, Dave Rowe and Kenny Vaughan and Pete Abbott from Tom Jones Band. These are the top musicians in the business. They don't play with everybody. And when they heard him sing, they were as floored as I am. They said he's an absolute pro and he's the real deal.
And I got the best in the business, I think, with people who have played with traditional artists. Like Dave Rowe played with Johnny Cash the last few years of his career, and of course Kenny Vaughan is Marty Stewart's guitar player, and Russ Paul, the #1 steel guitar player in Nashville and maybe even the world. Peter Abbott, who was Tom Jones' drummer. So I hope we captured that traditional feel and that traditional sound.
Hello, I'm Cutter Elliott, and this is my producer, Paul Reeves. We're on our way to Nashville to do a session.
Why won't you come back to me? While I cried my eyes out all night long and I got no relief. Why won't you tell me what I did so wrong? 'Cause I'd do anything to right my wrong. I'd stop smoking cigarettes, put the bottle back up on the shelf. I'd stop my sneaking around, make you happy and settle down. Take you dancing on Friday nights, compliment you 'cause you look so nice. Please love me, I'm a changed man. I'm doing the best I can. Why won't you come back?
Legendary Sun Records where Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley and Carl Perkins all started. And I'm standing right here by the front door that they all walked in at back in the 50s.
Why won't you tell me what I
So, how fun was it to record in
Oh
Nashville?
man, it was a dream come true. As a matter of fact, when I say a dream come true, I had a dream and all I remember of the dream was I was standing side stage, and Dave Rowe, who played bass on my record, was standing on stage, and I got this feeling that somebody was looking at me, standing beside me looking at me, and I kind of got freaked out, so I turned and looked, and it was Johnny. He was just standing there. And that's all I remember of the dream. And so it kind of worked, that dream came true. No, we weren't playing live, but I was working with him. And those guys that played on my record, they're all top musicians, and I'm very honored that they agreed to play on the album, because they made it sound great. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about this particular poster. The last time I had an appointment with Dr. Sullivan, my foot doctor,
I have a whole room full of posters and pictures of guitars. And
he brought this in and told me that how proud he was with my foot and everything.
So because he was doing this Johnny Cash routine, I gave him that poster.
Next time I need to see you is on stage, and he handed me this, and that was my last appointment I ever went to.
I found out that he played the guitar on a session in the process of making his album, and did the whole thing. I think that's extremely incredible.
I have been asked by the Autism Speaks Foundation to be their guest of honor at their Oklahoma and Texas Foundation.
So I'm just going to get up and just try to give the people there courage and try to uplift them and maybe tell them a little bit of my story. I said this once before, but I hope I can be just a little bit of an impact on somebody's life like my buddy Cliff has on me.
I'm honored to speak on behalf of children with autism and kids with disabilities. As well, I'd like to speak on behalf of all the people out there who like traditional country music.
I might float off in space, but I'm gonna try something I never did. I might ask a pretty girl out on a date. I might lean in for a kiss and not hesitate. Yeah, I'll fall for her and she might break my heart, but that's a chance I'll take. That's a chance I'll take. Can't, never could do nothing. I'm gonna try something I never did. Yeah, I might fall on my face, or I might float off in space, but I'm gonna try something I never
I really hope
did.
that he does get to do everything he wants to do, because I know how hard it's been and how much he really wants to do it and how hard he works for it. And it's really nice to have someone go first.
Cutter was 3. Debbie had this tiny basketball goal across the room, and Cutter would get this ball and be across the room and make a shot almost 9 out of 10 times, like it was uncanny. And my husband said, something's different. You know, that's not normal. I have 27 nieces and nephews. None of them could do that. I think there's something with memory or the muscle. He just could figure it out, you know, maybe like music.
He's going to meet every challenge head on, and he's going to win. He's a winner. He just is going to be a winner, no matter what.
I also just want him to remember everybody and to still be him, the independent person that he has become, and not, let anything get to his head.
Really, for Cutter, what I would like is just enjoy the ride.
For a mom and pop restaurant, but a big conglomerate came and bought the block. Well, maybe they're right, we could use another mini mall. Oh, the bigger they are, yeah, the harder they fall. I don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. Started out with a heap of that. Don't want it all, but I don't want nothing. 'Cause that's exactly what I have.